Hi there. This is a quick follow-up video about how House of the Dragon is going to be setting up other Game of Thrones spin-offs and prequels. In this case, Doom of Valyria. I've been reporting on this for a long time that there was a Doom of Valyria prequel in the works, and it was put on hold indefinitely, and the recent Hollywood Reporter spread did mention, not specifically, they were hedging, but they're going, why, if this is successful, they could do other projects about everything from Aegon's conquest to the Doom of Valyria. But it didn't specifically claim that was something one of the showrunners had mentioned. It was just other events from this universe. They were playing it coy, but we know from other things that there was a Doom of Valyria pitch called Empire of Ash, which went to Series Bible. It was pretty well developed. I posted leaks on it myself. The idea is there, and the original creator, Max Borenstein, still wants to come back to do that eventually, on a scale of years. Right now, he's making that LA Lakers show Winning Time for HBO, and the hope is that when he wraps that up in a few years, he's rising in prominence within HBO, that this will increase his standing enough that he can come back and do the Valyria thing, also because a few years from now, House of the Dragon will turn this into a big franchise again, that they'll be willing to do that. So when I'm talking about this, I'm not trying to lie to you that, oh, tomorrow you're going to wake up and they're going to announce a Valyria thing. This is like on the scale of the next 3 to 5 years. This is like the thing after what we're doing now. But looking ahead, and it is a major prequel era idea that this would be about Essos instead of Westeros, dealing with all this new stuff, and it's just interesting. Point is, what I said for a couple of weeks, and what I really prominently said a month ago, I made one big report where I said there's these 3 prophecies that come up in season 1. And I've been talking about that a lot because it turns out the one saying Aegon probably knew about the White Walkers is probably true, was coming out of descriptions of the first episode. But the first part of that, because they're connected, the first 2 prophecy things I talked about, I'm going to link this in the description below. I said, and I was trying to be intentionally vague, that we heard rumors and leaks just from the set that there is this prominent, the way I said it was artwork. There's artwork of the Doom of Valyria. And right after Queen Aemma dies, King Viserys is distraught. Just the senselessness of she died in childbirth and his infant son didn't live more than a few hours, and just why could an innocent child, just newborn, die like that? My wife was a good person. The senselessness of it gets to him, and he's just existential shock, and just how could this be part of the gods' plan? The senseless suffering. And Daemon will scoff and go, well, maybe the gods aren't real or don't care. And then I said they're looking at this artwork of the Doom, and you see the gears turning in Viserys' head. And he recites in some detail the origin story of House Targaryen, that he goes, well, the whole reason we are here and ruling Westeros is that Daenerys the Dreamer, Daenerys Targaryen, was this Cassandra-like figure, but people actually listened, that she had these prophetic dreams that the Doom of Valyria would come like a dozen years before it happened. Told her father about it, and he felt that this sounded like a real prophecy. So the Targaryens removed from Valyria to their outermost outpost at Dragonstone. These were like doomsday preppers of their day, and everyone laughed at them, but 12 years later, Valyria blew up in a volcanic explosion. So the entire origin story of this, they did not give this in the live-action Game of Thrones episodes. They should have. Though the animated featurettes, which people really like, the histories and lore stuff, they helped us get through the breaks between seasons. They made a big one for Conquest and Rebellion, the story of everything from the Targaryen conquest quickly to the other stuff. For season 7, it was 40 minutes long, and chapter 1 was the story of Daenerys the Dreamer and this escape from the Doom of Valyria. So logically, this comes up that you go, oh, how could this be part of the gods' plan? Maybe the gods aren't real or don't care about us, and just he recites the story of, he's looking at this Valyria artwork and going, but Daenerys the Dreamer got prophetic visions from apparently the gods. They must be real. we might not comprehend their goals. They might seem like the innocent die at times, but they have a plan for humanity. They are invested in our survival. Why else send us prophetic dreams and stuff? And Daemon will just end it by scoffing, "Dreams didn't make us kings, dragons did," like in the trailer. That's what the line is from, apparently. And also it'll turn out that Viserys is having his own prophetic dreams about other things, about his children. And you'll see that of just the prophetic dreams and the nature of the gods, and do they have a plan? Why are they doing all this? It's inscrutable. The key thing is that I kept saying artwork, and I kept saying maybe it's like a sculpture or a tapestry. The real leak, as I heard it, and I made that video a month ago, this is weeks before that, what we heard was, and this is from multiple sources, was that there's this big scale model of the capital city of Valyria in Viserys' study that he made just because he's a scholar. That this is the capital city of Valyria before the fall. And that this is what they're looking at when he starts opining about the history of Valyria and Daenerys the Dreamer prophecies. I actually heard a much more specific leak. What that leak did not specify was the exact size and scale of this model. They just said it's big. I thought they meant it was like covering a table, like a desk table sized thing. I did not anticipate that this was a room sized scale model. Just this week, we got the second behind the scenes video about the return to Westeros, is what it's titled. And it prominently shows a gigantic but scale model of what is clearly a Valyrian city in the Red Keep, that there are dragons and sphinxes in it. When you zoom in on high resolution, I'm not the only one pointing this out. Other channels pointing out this is a model of Valyria. There are obviously sphinxes in it. It looks inspired by Rome, but with dragons, which is basically what Valyria is. What else could it be that the Targaryens would have? But there aren't other cities like this in Westeros. This is clearly a model of Valyria. I'm not the only one saying that there's a revelation. Other people just go, wow, this looks like a model of Valyria. It's the size of an entire room. I'm making this video to tell you that's basically what I heard, only more so, that I heard there's this big scale model of Valyria. And I thought it was the size of a table, not of a room. And think of the implications. They could have made a table-sized scale model. They made a gigantic scale model. What you think for one shot, or oh, that's over there in the background. This is a major set piece. Dozens or hundreds of hours of man hours went into building this thing from props people. Considerable effort was put into this. And they're going to get their use out of it. Why else have a giant scale model of the capital city of Valyria, other than that this lines up with the leaks I've been reporting on for over a month? I heard about it months ago, earlier this year, that there's this big scene where they're describing Valyria, the doom of Valyria, in explicit detail, in the story of Daenerys the Dreamer, and it would happen in episode 1. And I didn't hear specifics about this because they were sworn to don't give anything too specific, but from YouTube channels, YouTubers who got invited to the premiere, which is West Coast, I'm East Coast, I'm not going to travel during a pandemic, and I'm not that big of a channel anyway, but people going, oh, you're upset, you missed it. Like, well, in general, yeah, but George R.R. Martin was trying to go to this and he got COVID. Maybe I shouldn't. I'm not, guys, things aren't done yet, but that's a problem you want to have if you get invited to something during a pandemic. I don't know, but the big thing is the big thing. I'm happy for the people who went. It's amazing, and they deserved it. As opposed to let's get some people from news magazines. I'm happy some of the YouTube people are getting in there. They did say in broad terms, they talk about Valyria a lot in the first episode alone. You know who I'm talking about. Other people on YouTube who they posted video of them outside of the premiere, said that they they were physically there, and they gave spoiler-free reviews. Said they talk about Valyria a surprisingly large amount in the first episode. Lines up with what I said, that there's going to be this artwork, and I knew it was a scale model, just know how big the model was, where that is so prominent that it is blatantly meant to be a talking piece, a launching point for discussion of the Doom of Valyria, which is also a backdoor pilot for, we need to start introducing this to the general audience so they know what Valyria is, so we can introduce what the Doom of Valyria was before we make a spin-off about it, because based on Game of Thrones alone, the live-action episodes, you really couldn't sustain general audience interest in that. I mean, think about it. They mentioned the Dance of the Dragons maybe 2 or 3 times in Game of Thrones, like season 5, when they were starting to get rumblings of maybe we should have a prequel. They started going, hey, I'm reading a book about the Dance of the Dragons. And people still don't know who Rhaenyra is. And people still don't, like, that's the thing I saw in every teaser trailer review that people had. Top question, I thought it'd be like, who's playing Rhaenyra? The top question was, what time period is this set in? Not blaming them, that shows the news was not reporting on this, but it's still, if you thought there wasn't enough setup for the dance in Game of Thrones, there was less setup for Valyria, and that's why House of the Dragon needs to do that. And they're setting up other stuff. There's this big scene where they talk about Nymeria. I talked about that in a separate video. Corlys's mere existence and all of his treasures from the east is setting that up as well. But eyes bugged out of my head when I saw this thing. Just whoa! The double effect of it's there. It's what I was. I wasn't just told it was artwork. I was playing coy. Oh, maybe it's a tapestry, because I didn't want to be too specific. It was supposed to be a large-scale model of Valyria, and I thought it was table-sized. This thing is the size of a room. This is blatantly meant to be a prequel hook, and I mean that as a compliment. Because the Doom of Valyria show, from what we heard, the series Bible leak said, plan to run 5 seasons, preferably 7, and this is a major flagship show, not a supplement, because it would cover multiple, it would cover a long timeline. That just as this would be about all of the lands beyond Westeros. It's not just Valyria. I mean, it's like all the colonies in the Free Cities, the colonies in Sothorios. It's this continent-spanning story. And there's, if you're a fan, like I said, it sounded like the World of Ice and Fire Volume 2. Turned into a movie. Turned into a TV show of just wow. I'm really excited about the possibilities of Valyria. If you are a fan of the World of Ice and Fire, reading the sections about Beyond Westeros, which is the entire last major subdivision to the entire book, it's the World of Ice and Fire, the TV series. So I am really looking forward to that. It would have a lot of new stuff in it. I'm trying to see, I don't know where this franchise will be on the scale of the next 10 to 20 years, but we'll see that if they do it, they'll do an anthology. It wouldn't be 1 year on the Doom. They said 5, preferably 7 years, because it would cover a lot of stuff. But I did this audio only in one take, because it's just, there is a giant scale model of the capital city of Valyria, and I heard leaks about this months ago, as it's meant to be this scene set, double setup that both Targaryens have prophetic dreams and really setting up the Doom of Valyria. The major question, though, because anyone could say, well, obviously they'd set up a Doom of Valyria show. It's a good idea for a prequel. These specific leaks I propagated at the time, that I had some pretty specific stuff about the politics of Valyria, the political factions, that the 3 main factions are called the Sphinxes, the Young Dragons, and the Freeholders. The Targaryens were Young Dragons. It's like calling them the Young Turks, but they're the Young Dragons. And then there's the Sphinxes, and then there's the Freeholders faction. Just, I keep reminding everyone, keep in mind, if there's a history lesson, I'm not saying this from knowledge, I don't know. It'll really confirm the leaks if they mention the factions by name that I said in the leak, because they are not from the books, that we didn't know of these things. That just as I talked about the Nymeria thing, they said Nymeria, they'll be reading a history book about her. What if, like, I don't know, Rhaenyra's sons are having a history lesson and they mention, or Daemon in the books at one point says, anyone who studied the history of the civil wars of Valyria would know that a dragon can kill another dragon, so we should use them sparingly and don't rush in to fight the other dragons unless we can gang up on them and outnumber them. Like, what if they sprinkle in dialogue mentioning the civil war between the Sphinxes and the young dragons or something? Or on a piece of, even not in dialogue, but like on another page of the props. Keep on the lookout for those names: Sphinxes, young dragons, and freeholders. But even if that's not in it, just that they're setting up the doom of Valyria that prominently, mentioning who Daenerys the Dreamer is, and this is as described, this better than I thought could be described, this gigantic scale model bigature of Valyria. And there's peasants in Flea Bottom probably going, that scale model is bigger than my house. But uh, it's, I'm really excited about all this. So I'm looking forward to your comments. Please leave them below. I want to go through this and just, what do you think?